could be alone between city lights. We don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What is up, you guys? Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to live stream. Is my mic at the right level? Oh man, every time. Nope, it's right. I just sound that good to my own ears. Hope you guys are enjoying the flight edit. This is going to be going live on my channel maybe later this week or something. But a little teaser for the people watching the live stream, a little preview. At the beginning of this video, it said music linked in the video description. That's for when I release this video. The music for this as another song that goes with this edit. Anyway, thank you to Aaron Ciotti for showing me. The first site was my idea. The second site was Ciotti's idea, the one that you're looking at now. It was a really good place to fly. So that it's just about over. I'll let it finish up. Let you guys finish watching it. Yeah, it is a cool site, Mika. There is a dive. This is the Infinite Dive, the location for the Infinite or the Impossible Dive. There's an impossible dive, a long dive down the side of a building, inside basically a little channel. But then there are these sticky outy parts that sort of make it a tunnel. And the ability to get all the way down it is reported to be impossible. Maybe someone will do it. Yeah. Wow, there you go. Woo. How you guys doing today? Welcome to the stream. It is Sunday. It is 1 p.m. where I am, and it's time to stream. Let me get a little drink here. Oh, yeah. There we go. That's good stuff. Oh, good. I cleaned up my room before the stream. Am I centered up? Hang on. Get ready for it. There we go. Now I'm centered up. Yeah. Boom. shit. There we go. Oh, there we go. I had the wrong profile on my camera. Oh, so professional. How you guys doing this afternoon? Can Umagod do it, do you think, Bobby Bags? Well, the problem is with the impossible dive is the same problem that Tommy ran into in the Duga dive, which is that your motors are pulling you forward as you dive. So unless you just aim the quad straight down, like literally flat, in which case you'd be looking at the wall. You see the problem? So as long as you are looking down the dive, you're being pulled forward. So you have to kind of spiral. And you can see Tommy do that in the Duga dive. He spirals a little bit. But this one is so long that you pick up so much speed that it's basically very, very difficult, some would say impossible, to actually pull it off. Jolly Monster, that first site was where I tried to break Stingy's forged carbon frame. Yeah. Am I muted? I'm not muted. It's you, Toady. I'm sorry, man. It's you. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Every time I release a flight edit, people are like, wow, hey, you're a better pilot than I thought. And I'm like, hey. They're like, you should release more flight edits. And I'm like, yeah. Maybe I should fly more often. Thank you for Siati having me out and showing me that good site. It seems I've sorted out my lighting situation. I don't know about that. It's the same lighting. But I do have a haircut today. I cut my hair. How do I look? Yeah. Kenny Bradley bought a JBF7 stack and has a yaw twitch on throttle up. Any ideas? Yeah, Kenny. Most likely you have a bad gyro. That's the most likely situation. There's a workaround because there are two gyros on the JBF7. It means that, Kenny, I'm going to link you to a video about how to fix that. Because there's two gyros on the JBF7, there's twice as high a probability of you randomly getting a bad one, you see. So you can just set it, instead of using both gyros, to use one of the two gyros. Or you could just say, hey, please give me a new one under the warranty. It's up to you. Yeah. Yeah, people keep saying, oh, there's a pandemic, there's a lockdown, I can't get a haircut. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Just go to the... Just bzz, 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 done. Haircut done. It works for me. I am slurping into the microphone, which will annoy a lot of you. I don't do it specifically to annoy you, but I also don't stop doing it because it annoys you. Do what you got to do. Oh man, a whole lot of people asking about the DJI renders. Yeah, there's just a whole lot of hype. The DJI quad. People are leaked pictures of a DJI quad, or so they say. Somebody made a picture of a proposed DJI goggle V2, but it was shown to be a render of a VR goggle that never got released, and somebody just grabbed it and was like, hey, this is the DJI goggle V2. So no confirmation on that. We will be talking about those things on the news live stream, 6 p.m. Tuesday. Me and Blunty will. That is in the show notes, so... How you doing, Jess Subs? Sack 14 save. What's up, Jess? In case you're new here, let me just show you what's going on. This is my main screen. I'll be monitoring your comments here, and I'll be answering your questions. A whole bunch of those questions are going to get missed because the chat goes by so fast, and I just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. So if you want to make sure I get your question, one thing you can do is you can hit the $ down here and send a super chat like this one from G. Strondel. I'll get that question in just a minute. Or you could join these beautiful people here in the Discord server. I have a Discord server, and you can hang out there during the stream if you are a patron. join my Patreon for as little as $2 a month. Link in the video description below, and you can hang out with those beautiful people. Yeah, one of us. And I gotta say, in the beginning, the advantage of the Discord was, you know, you get like, ooh, access to JB. That's how, you know, this would be. But the thing is, I always answer everybody's messages anyway, so I always kind of felt like, okay, I go to the Discord first thing in the morning. Well, instead of answering, you know, before I answer my email, I say, hey, on the Discord. I try and check in at least once a day. But the Discord has grown. We just hit like 3,000 members on the Discord. And that's after once you hit a certain point on Discord, they start locking down functionality if you don't pay them. So I guess maybe I should just pay them. But I just pruned anybody who hadn't been on the server in 30 days. So if you were on the Discord server and suddenly you're not anymore, you can come back. But even after pruning the inactive members, we're over 3,000 people. And I got to say, it's to a point where I can't keep up with all the conversations that are going on. But there's so many awesome and helpful people on the Discord that I just am like, wow. There's reasons to be here other than me. So, anyway, awesome. Anyway, let's get some questions now. Oh, Siadi's here. Hello, Siadi. I really thought that I did an interview with Paul Nurkala on the Good Flight podcast, and I really enjoyed that interview. Nurk is a good interviewer, and John, I think, is the other guy's name. G. Straddle, thank you for a £2 super chat. Will an XT60 melt on my new octocopter? 2x55 amp ESC. One rule of thumb is that if your battery has an XT60 on it, you're probably fine. Because the battery manufacturer sizes the connector on the battery to the amount of current that they expect the battery to be able to provide. So if you're using batteries that have XT60s, then you're probably okay with an XT60. Now, does that mean that your motors will be happy with that amount of current? If you undersize your battery, your quad will fly badly. You'll have voltage sag. You'll have short flight time. You'll puff your batteries and so forth. But you won't blow up the XT60 connector. If you buy a battery and it's got an XT90 or an EC, whatever that freaking connector is, or a Dean's or something, if you buy a battery with a higher amperage connector on it, it means the manufacturer of that battery thinks it can deliver enough current to need that connector. Now, you could always draw less current. So it's possible you would buy a battery with an XT90 on it and go, no, we're not going to use that. And you could either cut the XT90 off and put a smaller connector on, or you could make an adapter. You can always go down if you know that your motors are going to pull less current than the connector needs. But if you've got an XT60 on your quad and you've got an XT90 on your battery, and you know that that battery is really needed to deliver the amps then you would want to put like an XT90 on your quad. XT60s are surprisingly resilient. In my battery testing, I have pulled an XT60 is rated for, is it 60 amps continuous or 60 amps surge? I'm not even sure. But they're rated for 60 amps of something. I pulled 120 amps through a XT60 for like a minute and a half in a battery test, and the XT60 got hot, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't damaged and it didn't melt itself or melt the solder joints. And if you think about it, 120 amps for a minute, like a typical mini quad would just be done at that point. The battery would be empty. If you're talking about a big octo that could potentially be pulling more amps for a longer period of time, then you might run into trouble. Yeah, so the bottom line is, how many amps are you going to be pulling? If it is more than about 60 amps for an extended period of time, I'd be thinking about a larger connector. Chris Cameo, thank you for a $5 super chat. Great interview on the Good Flight. Props to you for taking the time at the end to talk about the flow state documentary instead of talking about yourself. Yeah, well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You go around, you do interviews, and then you promote like a project, right? Well, I'm pretty excited about this flow state documentary. Archimedes points out that not all XT60s are genuine nylon XT60s. So there are some XT60s that are made of a cheaper plastic with a lower melting point. Genuine XT60s are made of nylon and can take more heat. That's a very good point, Archimedes. How do you know if you're getting genuine XT60s? I don't know. I don't know about that. What happens to the XT60 when there's too many amps? Asks Bubby FPV in the YouTube chat. It melts. Basically, the solder joints can become liquid and the wire pops off. So that's bad. Or it can just melt and deform. Yeah. Griffin FPV. What the F, dude? I just built a new drone, and when I plug in a LiPo, the drone powers up fine, but when I raise the throttle, my Caddx Vista smokes. Are you kidding? So I cannot imagine how that is happening. Especially because the Caddx Vista and the DJI Air unit are incredibly resilient. So you have to have screwed up your wiring somehow. Let's think this through. I mean, I'll try, but it's pretty freaking far out. Since it is happening when you raise the throttle, it must be that the signal from the ESC is in some way getting, the current from the ESC output is in some way getting to the Vista. I can't imagine how that happened, but it's just got to be a wiring problem where somehow you're making contact with it's getting to the Vista in some crazy way that it shouldn't. I really have no idea though, dude. I would be checking the wiring, and specifically the motor. Like, how could the motor wire be smoking the Vista? What if, okay. What if you had a connection between the motor wire and the frame? So somehow the output of the ESC is pushing current into the frame, like your motor screw is too long and it's touching a winding, or you laid the ESC or your race wire directly against the frame instead of isolating it. So when the ESC throttles up the motor, current is pushed into the frame, and then you have a bad ground connection on your battery, so that the current flows through the ground of the Vista instead of through the ground wire on your ESC. Like, and that would smoke the wire though more than the Vista. That's like so far-fetched, but like it could happen. I've seen cases before where, think this through with me, the ground connection on the ESC becomes disconnected. So now the current is going to take, no, that can't be it. Yeah, on the ESC, but it wouldn't work with a 4-in-1 ESC. Anyway, the point is the current flows through the frame into the ground connection on the VTX antenna, and then through the VTX back to ground. And every time you raise the motors, it fries your VTX. I have seen that happen before, but you got to have a whole lot of crap wrong before that happens. Okay. Anyway, good question. Check for a short between your motor wires and ground. I know, I'm sorry guys, I don't have a straw. I know I'm pissing a lot of people off right now by drinking on the stream. I got to drink because I got to keep my mouth wet. And, it's just going to happen. So, whatever. Carbon fiber is a conductor RC air marshal. However, the coating, the epoxy, whatever, the resin that they use to make carbon fiber, there's a coat on top of the carbon fiber, and that is not conductive. So if you test carbon fiber on the top or the bottom, you will find that it's not conductive. If you test it on the edge where it's been cut, you'll find that it is conductive. And if you scrape the top layer away, you'll see that it becomes conductive. Let's see here. Nico FPV is asking about connecting a Kakute F7 to a T-Motor Velox. The answer is you need to make sure the wiring is compatible. Never assume that a flight controller and ESC are compatible. Even if they come from the same manufacturer, it's still, I mean, they should be compatible, but they're not always. So it's always worth double checking. Here's the wiring diagram. Let's take a look. This is going to be the ESC, and this is going to be the flight controller. Oh, you're not even plugging it in. You're soldering it up because you got an all-in-one. So we got ground to ground, correct. V plus to battery plus, correct. We're not using 10 volt out, and we're not using this second ground. T-Motor puts 2 ground pins in their ESC, and I really don't know why. I mean, in theory, it would. I guess what they're doing is they want 1 ground for the current from V plus and 1 ground for the current from 10 volt out, rather than having 2 positive wires and 1 ground. In theory, that ground would take twice the current. In practice, though, it's like, I feel like this is a case where it was more trouble than it was worth. Like, that wire is still capable of carrying the current, so I think it's, anyway, whatever. And then we got the motors wired up 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that seems correct to me. Where's your current or your telemetry, though? Anyway, there you go. Yeah, seems right to me. You're good to go, man. Who owns Ethics? Aditya Khanna wants to know. As far as a business goes, I really don't know. Ethics, my recollection is that Ethics was started by TBS and Mr. Steele as a sort of umbrella organization. It feels like, I mean, my memory is that it was kind of started as a response to Rotor Riot. I can't speak to the motivations of the people, but that's how it felt to me, that it was back when Steele had left Rotor Riot and there was some sense of Rotor Riot maybe not treating their pilots correctly. There were some accusations of that. And then Ethics was started, and with the name Ethics, so like, we're going to treat pilots ethically. And I think the idea was that Ethics would bring in pilots and help them create branded products. And then treat them fairly and pay them and so forth. The way it looks now is that Ethics is basically just Steele's brand. Like, are there any other pilots who have Ethics products other than Steele? So I think maybe it turned out differently than maybe it was originally sold. But that's okay. A lot of things do. Who actually owns it? That I don't know. I mean, I assume Steele, or maybe Trappy and Steele together. Bobby Bags, you're right. Conasty is part of Ethics as well. That is true. Thank you for reminding me. Skadoosh says Steele, Conasty, Onigiri, and Snake were the original owners. Trappy was just a backer to source product. Looney 2010 wants to know if I'm still a Rotor Riot pilot. I am still a Rotor Riot cast member. I haven't been in a lot of episodes because I haven't been traveling. It's not a good time to be flying around meeting people. I know a lot of people are okay with it. Personally, I just, it's always hard to, I don't really need much of an excuse to decide to stay home, as you know, if you've ever seen my freestyle videos. So, I haven't been going out to, let's go to Orlando and shoot episodes. Nah, haven't done it. So, yep, but I'm still on the team as long as they'll have me. Do you think DJI has killed analog, asks Mr. Shady. Or maybe I should say analogue, since he's using the European spelling. DJI has not killed analog because, Mr. Shady, there are still a whole lot of people out there who can't afford DJI. There are other reasons to not pick DJI. Some people feel like the latency is an issue. Some people just don't like DJI as a company. But I feel like if DJI cost $300 for the goggles and $75 for the air unit and the camera, analog would be in big freaking trouble. Like, the analog market share would be way, way smaller than it is. Analog is still around because DJI is out of many people's price range, I think is the number one reason. So it hasn't killed analog, but it could if the price was lower. That's my opinion. Ghost Spike wants some help troubleshooting his receiver. Ghost Spike or her receiver. Statistically, Ghost Spike is likely to be a man, though, just because I know my analytics. Ghost Spike I'm just finishing the CLI budget build. My XM Plus is bound to the transmitter, so I assume you have solid green light. S-Bus selected in Betaflight UART 3. Select switch to serial RX. On the budget build, you have to connect to the S-Bus pad on that flight controller because it's an F4 flight controller. I mean, I assume you did it just like shown in the video, so I'd have to remind myself which UART is correct. Let's look that up. Xylo. This is the Xylo Stacks. The Xylo Stacks. Xylo Stacks F4 flight controller. And if we look at the manual, where's the manual? Here's the manual for it. You can tell this is an Airbot product because the manual looks like an Airbot manual. And they've got this table here. Let's just double check. S-Bus RX1. Okay, so here's the mistake that you have made. Here's the mistake that you've made. You need to connect the S-Bus output to the S-Bus pad on an F4 flight controller, not the RX3 pad. And the reason for that is S-Bus is an inverted protocol, and an F4 cannot handle an inverted protocol. You have to build a special pad with a, as they say here, built-in inverter. And it's going to be on UART 1. So you need to connect the signal wire to... Where is S-Bus? Is this it? I can't quite read it. No, right here, S-Bus. So you need to connect the signal wire to S-Bus, and it's going to be UART 1, not UART 3. That is the answer. Boom. That's how we do it. We solve problems, baby. Oh, my on high. Yeah, Lexi should definitely be a moderator. Heck yeah. I got an interview with Lexi that is edited. We're going to be doing another. Me and Lexi are working on a project together. She did an interview with me for my channel, and I'm going to do an interview with her for her channel, talking about different aspects of going pro as an FPV pilot. Lexi is an expert in marketing. And obviously a great pilot and a great content creator, and has some thoughts and questions about going pro. So we are going to make some content about that. That'll be, I think, her interview I've got scheduled on the 17th. Let's just check my website here. This is my website, fpvknowitall.com, home of the ultimate FPV shopping list. If you guys want any of my product recommendations, it's there. But what I'm actually looking for right now is the editorial calendar. She is, yeah, I've got her scheduled for the 17th. And we're going to do an interview on this week talking about going pro. So thank you for being here, Lexi. Yeah, you're blue now. Definitely. Going pro, there was an interesting, oh no, wrong video. Wrong screen. There we go. It was an interesting conversation on YouTube this morning, on Facebook this morning, about going pro. Someone asked, like, how do you get sponsored? And somebody else was saying, don't bother. There's no point. It's all dead. I don't know. I would say going pro on YouTube or going pro at anything is a real challenge. The idea that he was saying there will be no more Johnny FPVs or Mr. Steels. That's it. That moment is past. And there's a perspective from which he might be right, because there won't be another person exactly like that, but there will be another person who will be their own thing, I guess is what I would say. Like, I think of some of the early pilots, like the Sharpoo or the Final Glide, or I would say Mr. Steele, but he's still around in making content. He has moved with the times in a way that some of the earlier pilots haven't. Some people watching this might not even know who Final Glide is, which would be a real shame. At the beginning of this hobby, there are people who are the best and the first, and they do things that amaze and astound everybody and become famous in their own way. And then the hobby keeps growing and changing, and other people... I think that in any new hobby, the second generation is much, much better than the first. And the reason is that the first generation is anybody who can do it at all. Look at skateboarding is a great example. At the beginning, skateboarding was like downhill, and people were basically just trying to be surfers on land. And then, like, this next generation of skateboarders came out and started making skateboarding its own thing. A lot of them were younger, and they were just inventing all these crazy tricks. And it was like, whoa. And these guys who actually invented skateboarding and were just kind of doing downhill and, you know, look, I can hang 10 on my skateboard. They were like, oh, you know. So if you look at FPV, the very first pilots were the first and they were the best. But then as it blew up, all of these people came out of nowhere who, I mean, in my opinion, the fact that a lot of them are younger has a lot to do with it. Kids have skills that grown-ups don't, just because they have reflexes and so forth. And just when you take a huge net and cast it out, the people who come to the top will be better than if you have a smaller net, you know? And so the second generation comes along and they do amazing things, and that keeps happening as the hobby evolves. Yeah, so there won't be another Johnny FPV, but there might be another Bubby FPV. Bubby, I know you're in the chat. I'm picking on you. Bubby's a great pilot, and has just started getting some attention because Drew's been putting him on Rotoride episodes. Well deserved. And who knows what he is going to turn into in the next year. Oh, but remote ID is going to kill the whole hobby. Well, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But you can't make those decisions. You can't make decisions based on that. Because if you listen to this guy who says FPV is dead, there will be no more FPV stars, there's no point. Yeah, you're right. There's no point. There's no point in doing anything. Don't even get out of bed. Just don't get out of bed. You're done. Just quit. But then you got guys like Ciotti. Who's just freaking grinding it out. Why is he doing it? I don't know. Is he likely to fail? Define fail. Everyone is failing right up until the moment that they succeed. Right? You just grind it out. And eventually you get somewhere. And maybe the time that you spent grinding it out has its own value. Maybe the place that you end up is a place you wanted to be. Maybe it's not. What's the freaking flight club? FPV Flight Club just closed its doors. They're going out of business. Did he fail? Did he succeed for a while and then do something else? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to act like you could use that argument to be like, you know, nothing ever fails. Nothing matters. You could take that to like a kind of a nihilist place where you're like, well, you know, I just lost my house and I'm living out of my car, but I'm still live streaming. So have I failed yet? You know, I'm not trying to take a kind of a nothing matters stance. But if you start with the belief that there's no point in doing it, then you've definitely failed because you're just not going to do it. So, Anyway. The other thing, and I'm going to go back to answering questions, but I do like topics like this. The other thing is you don't know where you're going to end up. I didn't start making YouTube content because I wanted to be a full-time YouTube creator. I started making YouTube content because of other reasons. If you start making YouTube content because you want to be a full-time YouTube creator and you grind it out, like Ciati, keep grinding it out, because even if someday you decide you're not going to try to be a YouTube streamer anymore, he just got a job doing filming some kind of a professional engagement. Maybe he's going to end up just doing that instead. Who knows where you're going to end up? You don't know. Anyway. All right, we'll go back to answering questions now. Snoopy wants to know in the Discord, how come I can connect a Crossfire Nano via inverted RX pad or a standard RX pad? It does seem to work just fine. Snoopy, some F4 flight controllers have a switchable inverter, okay? So there are inverters that are not switchable, and there's inverters that are switchable. Most flight controllers have non-switchable inverters. So if you use an inverted RX pad, they just won't work. You must be using an RX pad that has a switchable inverter of some kind. But the thing is, you said an inverted RX pad or a standard RX pad. That suggests to me that the flight controller has separate pads, one for S-Bus and one for not S-Bus. And in that case, typically the S-Bus one would not be switchable. If you have one pad that's just like RX, it might be switchable. I don't know the answer, but if it works, it works. So just don't ask questions. Pavel Spikowski is here. Pavel reminds us that all F7s have switchable inverters. It's true. He did say, and I don't know if I repeated this, that he's working with an F4 though. Glad to see you here, Pavel. It's so tough. It's so tough, isn't it? Walter Ward says the master has failed more times than the beginner has ever tried. That is true. But like you say, you fail 99 times and then you make it on the 100th. But what if you just fail 500 times? I don't know. I don't know the answer. Define fail. I think that's the thing. There's this focus on failure. Define failure. A failure doesn't mean that the thing you tried to do didn't work. You know, I think you don't fail until you give up. And sometimes you have to give up. Sometimes you have to go, look, I gotta eat. I gotta pay rent. I'm going to just get a 9 to 5 and I'm going to give up on my dream. Sometimes you're just tired of your dream and sometimes you're just bored and you want to do something else with your life. But is that a failure? Yeah. What about Final Glide, Mustang Pilot? Final Glide is he was one of the first big popular FPV pilots, freestyle pilot. Raced for a little while, and left FPV and went back to being. He's a full-scale glider instructor. I don't know what he's doing professionally right now, but he is basically left FPV. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin Kaminsky, for a $5 super chat. Any experience or thoughts on Baby Tooth style 1S quads? I built one the other day and love it. Would love to hear what you think. Kevin, I have the Savage Bee, and I have Baby Tooth from Kebab that I want to be working on a review for, but I haven't gotten to it yet. So I'm looking forward to trying those. Manuel Smeets in the YouTube chat wants to know, you said you hated it when people flew lipo packs and reviewed them that way. Envy Astro did it that way. What happened to them? I don't know what happened to Envy Astro. I used to watch their battery tests. And I have to say, of all of the people out there doing battery testing, I felt like Envy Astro was the closest to like an actual rigorous because Envy Astro was a racing pilot, and racing pilots are known for their consistency. And Envy Astro would set up a race course and fly the packs back to back and comment on them. I feel like if you're going to do subjective battery testing, that's the best way to do it. And there certainly are things that kind of testing can reveal that my bench testing doesn't reveal. But you have to be, it's so tough because you can get placebo effect, and but I really loved Envy Astro's content. I don't know what happened to Envy Astro though. I don't know where that did that. I mean, I don't know that. Do they not paste it? Do they not post anymore? Can Tiny Whoops do freestyle? Yes, they can. There are some great Tiny Whoop freestyle pilots out there. Is Steel your competitor? Asks Zawish Kambata. I mean, in that, I don't know. The question is YouTube a zero-sum game? If one person gets views, does that mean another person doesn't get views? Or can the whole thing grow? I mean, certainly Steel is a way better pilot than me. Nobody would dispute that, including me. I feel like my strength is in doing, is in, number one, having a direct connection with as many people as possible, answering messages and so forth. Not that he doesn't answer messages, but I feel like probably I answer more messages than most people on YouTube. And that gives me a better sense of what kind of questions and issues people are having. A lot of times I'll post a tutorial video and somebody will go, I can't believe you're wasting your time with this video. Everybody knows this. And I'm like, well, actually, no, they don't, because I'm making this video because I got a ton of questions about it. And so people just lose track of what other people don't know. Yeah. So I wouldn't say we're competitors, but I feel like they're in different places. Curtis Reed, thank you for a $10 super chat. That's a big super chat. Thank you, man. Thanks for your amazing content. My TX16S is stuck in emergency boot loop. I tried your steps from 3 ways to flash open TX. Curtis, we should talk about this one-on-one to try and figure out exactly what's wrong, so please feel free to email me. If you were able to flash it and it's still stuck in an emergency mode, you may have flashed the wrong firmware to it. If we assume that you did flash the right firmware, the next thing I would do is take the SD card out and open the radio and take the coin cell out and then put the coin cell back in and see if that fixes it. A lot of times it does. Copter Flights, I hope that Betaflight 4.3 will solve the OSD freezing issue with the DJI OSD. I don't know why 4.2 freezes, but hopefully they'll fix it. In the meantime, you can move your you can move your OSD over to a hardware UART, and you can put your GPS on soft serial. Today's live stream is brought to you by Milo's Sweet Tea. Unsweet. Sweet or unsweet? Unsweet. Milo's Unsweet Tea. Milo's Unsweet Tea gives you that fresh southern flavor that you need with none of the artificial byproducts that you don't. Milo's Sweet Tea is guaranteed not to contain any arsenic or rat poison. You know, for those of times when you don't have time to brew up a fresh batch of sweet or unsweet tea, Milo's Sweet Tea is the one. Milo's, see what a good job I did? Sponsor me, Milo's. That was not an actual paid ad read. I just like to show sponsors that I am capable of doing a good ad read. Hey, Mio. Hey, Mio. Make this camera's better. Hey, Mio. Did you see that? You feel worried, Mio? Mio squirts? All this time I've been drinking Mio squirts on stream. And do I get a message? No. There's other fish in the ocean. I can drink Milo's Sweet Tea instead of Mio squirts. There's actually a Mio lemon squirt in here. No, I do like Milo's tea. I do like Milo's tea. Skadoosh bails on mid-roll ads. Yeah, me too. I have to say there are some people who do mid-rolls right. Corridor Crew makes mid-rolls really funny. Linus Tech Tips at least keeps the mid-rolls really short. So... 507RC, you are correct that the DJI Air unit is only rated up to 17 volts. I have heard reports of people running it on 6S and not blowing it up, but personally I wouldn't do it. What do you think about the Moon Goat? Asks Mustang Pilot 1. I'm super impressed that the Moon Goat frame is as chonky as it looks and durable as it looks while only weighing 110 grams. Mio Squirt. You know what a Mio Squirt is, right? License to drive? Mio Squirt. It's a flavor squirt. Look. It's a flavor squirt. You squirt it in your drink. It's delicious. You can drink them while you work out. You can drink them while you do a Slav squat. I really feel like I'm not comfortable. Hang on. I'm not really comfortable. I can't zoom in on this. I'm not really comfortable with the camera angle here. Mio. What's going... This is a little too... You see what I'm getting at, guys? I feel like I would like this guy to turn his leg in just a little. I don't know. Sorry, bro. Uh-huh. What's going on here, Mio? What kind of camera angles are we looking at here, Mio? Do we need to... I feel like I'm in the wrong part of the internet. Moving on. You don't remember that episode of Friends where the guy had the short shorts and then he kept flopping out? That was a joke on Friends. Oh, very good idea. Yes! Fantastic! That is a great idea. Look, right here. Check this out. Room for sponsor here. That's the best idea. Hey, that's right. I'm going to put a sponsor on my floor. That's a great idea. Okay, let's get back to the stream. We've lost the thread. Ing FPV wants to know what I think about the titanium frame. I think it's too heavy. It's nearly 200 grams. I don't care what you're bringing. The whole point of titanium is it's lightweight, right? Why are you going to make a titanium frame, make it 200 grams? Moving on. Ooh, Foxeer just released their version of the SharkBite camera called the DigiSight 1000 TVL. Wow, that's exciting. That's exciting. Hey, Blunty, we got to put this on the news, dude. Let me ping this over to Blunty real quick for the news. That's definitely newsworthy. Foxeer DigiSight Super WR FPV camera. I mean, it's got to be better than the Racer. The Racer is like usable, but I don't love it. It's got HD and analog. Cool. Show me the... Is this it? Yeah, I don't know. I want to see flight video. That's the bottom line. We need to see flight video. I'd love to try it. Foxeer, send it. Send me this... Foxeer, please send me this camera. Is that how it works? Like a letter to Santa Claus? I know that you want me to, they're like, hey, we got this new camera. Do you want to see it? I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of busy right now. But this one, I'm interested. Is it worth swapping the Runcam 3 Nano on the Mobula 6 for anything else? I don't know, guys. Is the Ratel has a Nano version, right? The Runcam 3 Nano on the Mobula 6, I feel like it is like usable. Is there a better one out there? And is it worth swapping it? It's a good question. Ciati? Ciati knows a lot about micros. Why don't you weigh in there, Ciati? I mean, the Ratel Nano, I think it's probably pretty good. The Ratel is a pretty good camera. Zaush Kambata wants to know, what's the difference between the Runcam Phoenix and the JB edition? Two main things, Zaush. Number one, I asked for them to add the digital camera control function to the JB version. The standard one only has analog control, so you can't connect it to a UART to change the settings. Number two, it has presets that I made, whereas the other one, so I think it looks better, but not everyone agrees. But the big feature is the digital control. Looking for an answer from Ciati about that camera. Runcam Eagle Micro guy. But that's he needs a nano cam, Ciati, for a Mobula. He can't put a micro on a Mobula, right? Stanley Frink, have you seen the leaked photos of DJI's Racer FPV combo? I have seen them. This seems legit, doesn't it? Seems legit. Distracted says, Motor 3 stopped working. I switched 2 different motors on it. They don't work either. Is it safe to say I blew the ESC? Yes, that is correct. You blew if you swapped motors and it still doesn't work, double check the startup beeps. If you don't feel any startup beeps, the ESC is dead. If it goes doo-doo-doot and nothing left, it could be the signal wire. You got to pinch the motor so you can feel the beeps, though. Copter Flights is looking forward to a new update on the DJI FPV. Am I allowed to... all right, anyway. When you're under NDA, does the NDA usually say that you can't mention that you're under NDA? I don't know. Huh. I'd have to go back and look. Yeah, Big Data Pimp points out this new DJI Quad does not have standard props. It uses DJI props. I don't... Let's pull this up. We are going to talk about this in the news on Tuesday. But is this... Let's find a leaked photo of the... Oh, no, that's not it. Hang on, let me find the right one. It's all over Facebook. Where the F is it? Somebody post me a link. It's a nano camera. Oh, yeah, for the Mobula, yeah. I can't find the actual leaked photo. Oh, here we go. This is it. This is the leaked photo that people are talking about. Like, to me, this is not going to replace a racing drone, right? This is not going to replace a racing drone or a freestyle drone. Like there's a person who's going to buy this who wants to fly a DJI style drone a little more aggressively, but that thing's going to... You're not going to crash that doing a Matty flip. It's gonna, right? That's not going to hold up to any kind of crashing and bashing. So, I don't see this taking a big chunk out of FPV, the FPV market. If it has obstacle avoidance, is it cheating? I don't know, Lexi. Good question. I mean, it has a freaking 2-axis gimbal. It's not a freestyle drone. Anything that you can't do a risky move and crash and just get right back up and fly again. Like, look at all this plastic and stuff. This is going to break when you crash it. Like, I don't know. If I get one, I'll give it a fair shake. I think it's going to be great for what it is because DJI knows how to make good products. But it's just a question of whether you're the audience for it. So. It's an FPV Mavic. Jared TG wants to know my opinion about the newbie drone Mosquito. The newbie drone Mosquito is, like, when I first saw this, I was like, what the F even is this? The idea behind the Mosquito is that you take your 65mm tiny whoop, you put it on this open prop frame, and then you put like 40mm props on it. And you basically get a much better handling quad. It's not a tiny whoop anymore. It doesn't fly like a tiny whoop. I'm intrigued. Here's the thing. For $20, like, maybe I'm unique. Maybe I'm not. I have I have more than a few tiny whoops that I have flown, and then, like, maybe I've got a newer one or a better one or a different one, or maybe it's like slightly broken. I bet that a lot of people who fly tiny whoops have at least one tiny whoop sitting in the corner that they don't fly anymore, that they could try this out on and get kind of a different flight experience. If I had a really good tiny whoop that I loved, I wouldn't like rush to swap it over to this, because like tiny whoops are a thing and they're a good thing. But this also seems like a good thing, and maybe is. I feel like this is a great little project to try on a tiny whoop that maybe is, you know, maybe isn't your favorite, or maybe it's like so good that you're going to stop flying tiny whoops. But I don't think so. Yeah, Jared, this is not for indoor. Like, it doesn't have prop guards anymore, so you're going to be maybe potentially like hurting your pets or something. Yeah, it's like a tiny toothpick, Mr. Huggy. Good point. Bucks Coatser wants to know, if I am currently geared for 4S, would you say the switch to 6S is worth it? Look, Bucks, if you have like 15 4S batteries that are good, don't just throw them in the garbage and buy a bunch of 6S batteries. It's not worth it, in my opinion. What you can do is you can start buying 6S batteries, and you can use assuming that your hardware is 6S capable, you can use a throttle limit or a motor output limit in Betaflight to limit the quadcopter down to 4S RPMs. This is something Ciotti has started doing lately, and Ciotti says he's just loves it and is never buying anything other than 2400 kV motors again. I don't know if I would go that far. Check this out, though. So here in Betaflight, any minute now my COM port will appear. Any minute now. Oh, there it is. There's my COM port. So here in Betaflight, blah, blah, blah. Check this out. In the PID tuning tab, right down here, there's cell count and scale factor. Let's zoom in on that. So what you're going to do is you're going to say cell count 4, scale factor 100, and save. Cell count 6, scale factor 66%, and save. And what that's going to do is, when you plug in a 4-cell battery, everything will be normal. When you plug in a 6-cell battery, it'll scale your motor output down by 66%, which will turn your quad essentially into a 4-cell. And then as you buy more and more 6-cell batteries, eventually you can switch over and start building quads with like 1700 kV motors. So that's a way to make a switch. I should make a video about that. That's pretty cool, actually. That has always existed in Betaflight, but they recently put it into the under the GUI and made it a lot easier. JB78RC, thank you for a $5 super chat. No question, just appreciate the contribution. Keep the content coming. Thank you very much. Keith Moore, thank you for a big $20 donation in the super chat. What are your thoughts on the Jumper T-Lite? Will you be doing a review? The Jumper T-Lite is... Oh, I'm zoomed in. Hang on. There we go. This is the jumper T-Lite. Now let's zoom back in. Yeah. Pretty slick, huh? Can we zoom in on this? Yeah. Pretty slick. A gamepad style radio with a screen. Compare it to something like the Tango 2. It's got a lot of trim switches and extra buttons and stuff. I mean, I think we could probably say that the build quality on the Tango is going to be better. Jumper has okay build quality. TBS generally has very high build quality. How are the gimbals? It's got Hall effect gimbals. The big selling point, of course, will be the multi-protocol module, though. And, of course, we got to find out the price. Do we know the price yet? I don't know if we know the price yet. I'm interested in it. It seems interesting, and I know a lot of other people are going to be interested too. Controllers and goggles are always real interesting to me because it's like the one thing that everybody has to get. Everybody has to decide on it, and it's going to lock you in for a while. So you really want to get the decision right. $70. Well, that makes it a lot more interesting at $70. Yikes. That makes it a lot more interesting. Am I going to review it? I don't know. I'm right now. I'm really feeling overworked on reviews right now. Like I have too many products to review, and I'm not. I don't know. Like I go through phases. I've talked about this on other live streams. So right now, I am not committing to review any products. I'm going to finish reviewing the stuff I have to review, and then I'm going to just sit down and really think about what kind of videos I want to make, as opposed to letting the fact, like a new product comes out, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I want to review that because I know that you guys want a review of it, and I, understand that one of my job responsibilities is to make videos that you want to see, and that's a service I can provide. But it's so easy to just like, oh yeah, send me that, and then I end up with a huge pile of stuff, and I just literally takes me months to get through. Meanwhile, more cool products are coming out that I then can't review because I accepted all this other stuff to review, and I just don't know the solution to that. The solution is if you look at big channels like I mentioned this a lot lately because I've been watching. It's one of my favorite channels right now is Linus Tech Tips. Linus Tech Tips has other presenters on the channel. They have other guys who do their reviews. So they have 4 or 5 presenters, and not every video is just Linus doing reviews. But the problem, that is really tricky. That's really tricky to implement, just to have people who... Because everybody has their own audience. So let's say you take somebody and you say, here, come work on my channel and do reviews. Well, that person might be really popular on their own channel, but then my audience might go, no, we don't like you. And that's such a big commitment. They have to commit to your channel instead of their own, which then puts them in a position where potentially they're not building their own audience. And you have to commit to them being on your channel. And it's just... So I don't know how to do it, but I'm not confirming to review any new products right now. I'm going to work through my backlog, and then I'm going to think about what kind of videos I want to make as new year want to be. The thing is, it's not a question of Mustang Pilot says folks wanting to take the products off your hands. The products are not the problem. The problem is that the product that I deliver is me reviewing the product. It is my perspective on it. That's the challenge. So it's hard to find someone who can deliver that in a way that satisfies my audience. So it's tough. It's tough. Anyway, we are just whining about being a YouTuber. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, anybody will do a review. It won't accomplish what I need to accomplish, which is to satisfy my audience and build my channel and ultimately bring in money for me to live off of. Mayan High points out it's hard to be creative in reviews too. This is a good question. It's one of the things that I struggle with is like is being excited about new products like Kebab. I love Kebab because Kebab just tells it straight. And he reviewed the Emax Eco 2 motor, and he was like, this is a good motor. It's inexpensive, and motors are all the same. They're just all the same. And he's right. So a new motor comes out, and people are like, you want to review this new motor? And I'm like, let me guess. It's got N52 magnets. It's 2400 kV. There's like 3 things that are interesting about motors. Like, what bearing does it have? Does it or does it not have a titanium shaft? Is it 7075, or I think it's 7075 aluminum, or not? Is it a Unibel? Yeah, that's pretty much it. How much does it weigh? There's like 5 things that are interesting about motors. I know that's not the whole truth. There's other differences between motors, but so like a new motor came out, will you review it? Like, I don't know. But that's, you know, that's partially because that's not how everybody feels. It's not even the truth. It's just the fact that you're a little bored or burnt out with seeing, you know, for 5 years, seeing new motors come out, and finally you go, they're all kind of the same, mostly. Just get the right size and kV and get on with your life. Huh. Mayan High, you're right. The magnets matter. Most motors today are like the same magnets, though. You got to be excited. If you're bored or burnt out, it will come through. You gotta actually care when you do the video. So I don't know. That's why new content creators are so interesting. They haven't gotten bored or burnt out yet. And if you are as excited as your audience is, because when you first get into the hobby, you're super excited. Look at all these motors. Oh, they're so cool. Which one should I get? And if you as a reviewer are like, turns out, dude, it doesn't matter. Just freaking get over it, kid. That's not a good attitude. So, any thoughts about the Attitude V6? Let's talk about the Attitude V6. I recently wrote a paragraph about the Attitude V6 for my website. I don't think that it has been added yet, but I will show you what I wrote. This is the Trello card with the description of the Attitude V6 that will be going up on my website. Here's what I have to say about the Attitude V6. I am going to do a review of the Attitude V6 because I'm hearing so many requests. I know you guys want it, but this is the short version of what I think about the Attitude V6. So you can check that out. While you're reading that, I'll tell you one of the things that I've learned the hard way is that if you're going into a video and you are not interested or excited in the video and you're just like, yeah, I'll just get it done. Just stop, don't do it. Back up. Find a way to get excited or don't do it. But if you're just crapping out a video to get it done, you're not doing your viewers any favors, and you're hurting yourself. I do not script my videos. I probably should, Lexi, but I cannot script my videos. That's just not how my creative process works. Yeah. Siati, I am thinking hard about feed forward, and I normally like a little bit higher feed forward, but your feed forward settings were kind of appealing. I'm thinking about lowering feed forward and trying that out. Yeah. Let's see. Newfoundland, RC and FPV, thank you for 20 Canadian dollars. Newfoundland. Just want to say thanks for all the help with my Apex HD build and the Crossfire setup. Thank you, Mustang Pilot, for a $10 super chat. And thank you, Ramen, for a $5 super chat. How do you connect a Spectrum DX6 to a quad with a DJI FPV Air unit? Ramen, if you are not using the DJI controller, then you just connect the receiver like you would just like you would if you weren't using DJI. The Spectrum DX6, I would recommend the 4650, the SPM 4650 receiver, I think, is the one. It's an SRXL2 receiver. And you know, just connect it up. I have a video about how to connect the 4650 though. Louis 101 is asking in the Discord, any thoughts about the Holybro Kakute F7 HDV for a DJI build? I'm just starting out and I'm unsure about it not having an OSD chip. Louis, many of the DJI focused flight controllers don't have an OSD chip, but that's okay because it's not needed. The OSD chip is only used to draw the OSD on top of an analog signal, so it's not needed unless you want to use that same flight controller for analog, in which case then you'll need a different one. Yeah. I'm just gonna pour myself another tall, cold glass of this Milo's famous unsweet tea. Oh, so refreshing on an afternoon. It's available in both sweet and unsweet, and caffeinated and decaf versions. So you can feed it to your children before bedtime and know that they won't be up all night. Now to take a nice long swig. Wow. That really hits the spot. It is unsweet. It is unsweet. The difference between the North and the South is in the North you only have unsweet. In the South we have both sweet and unsweet. And no, people in the North, if you give me an unsweet tea with a sugar packet, that is not a sweet tea. You know who you are. That was my fault for ordering sweet tea in the North. I don't know what I was thinking. I said, do you have sweet tea? And the waitress said, yep, we have sweet tea. And she brought me a glass of unsweet tea and a couple sugar packets. And I was like, what in the... Are you... That is not how sweet tea works. What is unsweet tea? Jack Crisp wants to know. It's tea with no sugar in it. That's very easy. For people who are not from America, perhaps, this is the European stream, I should explain. Sweet tea, it's iced tea. So first of all, if you don't live in America, you probably don't have iced tea. It is not just cold, like actual herbal tea. It's made from like the shittiest tea leaves. Back in the day when they made tea, there was this stuff left over called basically dust. And someone was like, I know, let's put that in bags and sell it to people. They'll drink it. It's its own thing, though. It's not like tea, like you would expect. If you live in England, this is not tea. But what makes it sweet tea is that while the water is hot, you put like a shitload of sugar in it, and that dissolves it in. The sugar dissolves in. You can't put sugar in a cold tea and have it dissolve. It doesn't work. So, and that's sweet tea. No, this was in the north, Siati. This was somewhere up north. Anyway, you can make a simple syrup. In theory, you could add a simple syrup to an unsweet tea, and it would be a sweet tea. Sweet tea is so sweet in the South that there's a thing called a half cut. You order a sweet tea half cut, and it means take your sweet tea and put half unsweet tea in it because your sweet tea's too freaking sweet. Half cut. Anyway, there you go. This live stream brought to you by Milo's tea. A lot of people don't know that there's more than one form of tea. I agree, Daniel Cole. Enough tea talk. Joe B4 Eiley, thank you for 10 pounds. Can I power a full-size Crossfire TX from an external battery while plugged into the module bay, or do I need to disconnect something? No, you plug in. Here's the thing, Joe. When the voltage on the Crossfire is higher than the voltage from the module bay, then the Crossfire will take its power from the external battery. So what you're going to want to do is use a 3S for the Crossfire module so that it always draws power. If you put a 2S in the radio and a 2S on the module, the Crossfire will draw from whichever one is more fully charged. If you want to ensure that it's always drawing power from the external, use a 3S external, but then it'll be fine. You don't need to disconnect anything. Tommy wants to know in the Discord, can you recommend budget motors and flight controller ESC for a 3-inch quad? For a 3-inch quad, Tommy, we got to ask what your all-up weight is going to be. What's the style of 3-inch that you're building? And then we can recommend some motors. Siadi, you had some good recommendations on the last live stream about motor sizes. Daniel Hines wants to know, how do I get a Crossfire Nano receiver repaired? Daniel, in general, if you send their electronics back to them, TBS will repair them. But the problem is that I know they do this for video transmitters. I assume they do it for Crossfire receivers, but I don't know for sure. The problem is that the shipping, like racers will break Unifies, and when they have like 10 broken Unifies, they'll send them off to Hong Kong to get them fixed. But the problem is that shipping is so expensive. If you just have one device, it's probably not worth it. Hmm. 1507, yeah, 1507 or 1408 is a good size for a typical 3-inch. But if you're building like a 3-inch toothpick, then you're going to be in like the 12XX. It's Blunty. Thank you for helping RiseX with his I2C problem in the Discord. That problem was a little too deep to go into on the live stream, but I appreciate you taking the time, man. $12 global shipping, says Pandemic Pilot. I don't know who you're... These days, shipping is so expensive. If you're getting $12 shipping from USA to Hong Kong, I'm surprised and impressed. Mayan High says TBS does repair VTX, Crossfire, etc. She just got a package back, so she knows. Okay, great. So if you have a broken Crossfire or anything, you can send it to them for repair. Nathan Hawk wants to know about the Emax plastic motors. I have not heard of this. Let's look and see. Plastic motors. Okay, Emax. What do you got? Well, it's 1806 and it's 2300 kV and it's $9. So let's think, let's think this through. Can you get a better motor for $9? I don't know. I think it has to be cheaper than this. Should be not. I mean, a $9 1806 is not that cheap of an 1806. Is it? Like, 1806 is a weird size anyway. Is this... What's the point? Is it come in other sizes? Oh, shoot. Sorry, guys. It looks like it's just 1806. Oh, well, no, here's 1306. 2212? What the frick is going on here? Emax... Let's see if we can find Emax. Drones. Where's motors? Motors. PM motor. There we go. Let's find all the sizes that they know. See? So it's 1306 or 1806. I'm not a fan of, and it's not a T-mount prop either. I'm not a fan of 1806 for 5-inch props. KV, 2300 KV. So that's 5-inch on 4S. I don't think 1806 2300 KV is a great motor to begin with. So the fact that this one is plastic, it's kind of, if it was 2306 2400 KV, then I go, well, we got to take a look at this. I wouldn't recommend 1806 2300 KV anyway. Like 1806, in my opinion, is an okay motor for 4-inch props. For 4-inch props, like 1606 to 1806 are interesting sizes. But you're not going to want to be at 2300 KV for 4S. You're going to want to be at, I don't know, 3000 KV? 3000 KV? Yeah, that seems about right. Yeah. You want to be somewhere around 3000 KV. So 1806 2300 KV, what is that? That's a 4-inch 5S motor. That's not a thing. Yeah. So there's no point to this motor. This motor has no reason to exist. The fact that it's plastic is interesting, but the size and KV mean that it's pointless anyway. So there you go. Even beginners, don't use 1806 on 5-inch. It will not last. Peter Peterman says, that motor is years old and discontinued. Well, you say that, Peter, but look, it's in stock and I can add it to my cart. Boom, see? I don't know. Somebody asked about it, so I talked about it. Mike Adventures says plastic warps with heat. It's not going to be balanced long. I mean, in theory, it could be a high-temp industrial plastic. Anyway, there you go. Luca P wants to know, does the HP 1200 watt server on your shopping list actually only output 900 watts like I'm seeing? Let's find out. We go to the shopping list. We go to LiPo batteries and chargers, and we go to power supplies. And here's the 1200 watts. Now, you don't have to buy this from Banggood. I linked it on Banggood because it's a decent price and they solder on the leads for you. You can buy these HP power supplies on eBay and anywhere, and you could do the mod yourself. I guess I would need to read the label. Can I read the label? Barely. I can barely read the label. Yeah, no, I can see it's true. On 110 volt, it only outputs 900 watts. On 240 volt, it outputs 1200 watts. That is correct. However, I mean, 900 watts is still a lot of freaking power for $45. I think it's still, I mean, that just is what it is. But you are correct. Thank you, Ben T, for a $10 super chat. I think a metal housing helps with heat dissipation and you'd avoid overheating. Yeah, that's a good point. Metal is going to dissipate heat better than plastic. Paul Szymanski, thank you for a $5 super chat. Thanks for the advice on the prescription inserts for goggles. Yeah, Paul was having trouble picking goggles because he has a weird glasses prescription. And it turns out he didn't know that you could get inserts for goggles. So, good. Tyler Harris in the chat says, someone is sending me some Thrust 2450 kV motors for free. Have you ever used them? I have not, but they're free. What size are they? 2306? Yeah, send it. Baldman FPV says, we used 1806 back in the day. Yes, we did. It was a different time. 1806. These days, the reason I stay away from 1806 is the smaller stator has a lot less torque than like a 2306. And the 1806 motors pretty much all have a 2mm shaft because of the size of bearing that you can put in that motor. And that 2mm shaft is just not up to the weight and leverage of a 5-inch prop. That's my opinion, and Ciati agrees with me, and that's all I need to hear. What frame am I running on my day-to-day quad? My day-to-day quad. Yeah. You can see the wall behind me is kind of empty because I've got a bunch of broken quads that I got like five quads that just came back from a guy who's hopefully doing some repairs for me when I don't have time to do it. And I got like 4 quads that I took to Atlanta and I broke and I need to fix them. Some frames that I'm flying right now, I have like 3 iFlight Sedora SL5E in my rotation, and they're holding up pretty well. I have a FPV Cycle Glide. I have a Halo RC Orion, and what else? Rotorite HD1 and CL1. My Lumineer Freakstyle is in rotation. Have I bored you yet? Yeah. Those are all things that are in rotation. It's 5 o'clock somewhere says, why on earth is anyone looking for an update to DJI? Is 5 miles with HD quality not enough? Here's the thing, though. When DJI released the 50 megabit per second firmware update, that was when I finally realized that DJI is just thinking completely differently than I would have expected. There was no reason from a market and business standpoint to release the 50 meg update. No one was even close to DJI on the 25 meg. Why did they release the 50 meg update? Just because they can and they want to make their product better for their customers. So you say, well, why would they release V2? I don't know. Why did they release the 50 meg update? And here's what I think. The amount of engineering resources they have is so ridiculous that it's not actually a big deal for them to develop these things. It's like, you know, on your way to work, you stopped and got a coffee at Starbucks. Why? I don't know. I just wanted a coffee. It cost me like $2. Who cares? And that's what DJI is. They're like, yeah, we're going to put V2 of our goggles out. What, it's been 18 months. Of course we're going to put V2 out. You're like, why? Everyone's still buying V1. And they're like, what, are you crazy? We just update our products. That's what we do. We're DJI. F you. That's just what we do. So, I mean, there doesn't have to be a reason to justify. I'm not saying that there is an update coming. There's a lot of rumors about it. I don't know if they're true. But if you say, why would DJI update? Just because that's what they do. Yes, these quads in the background, HB, are the Shocker. I flew the Shocker. I want to see some flight video? The review of the Shocker is coming. This should look at my editorial calendar before I commit. It's on the calendar. I flew the Shocker this weekend. I still need to record. Yeah, it's scheduled for Wednesday, so we'll see how that goes. I have a strong opinion about which Shocker I prefer, the 5-inch or the 4-inch. Hang on. Let's see here. Here, let's look at some flight of the Shocker. There's going to be no audio for this because it's DVR. Let's see what you guys think of the Shocker. Yeah, is this the 4-inch or the 5-inch? I'm not going to tell you. Maybe you'll figure it out. Hello. Can we take off? There we go. Okay. Yeah, just sort of talking and flying it. Let me actually get to the actual flying. Yada yada yada. I'm doing a voiceover during this segment talking about why the shocker was not in the 4-inch long range roundup. Hold on. I'm about to demonstrate why the shocker was not in that roundup. Yeah, okay. This is something the shocker can do that those 4-inch long ranges cannot do. Ready? This. Yeah, this is a 4-inch. You are correct. The shocker is not a 4-inch micro long range in the way that like the Flywheel Explorer is. Do you see that punch out? You're not going to get that with any of those other 4 inches that we saw. If you guessed 4-inch, you are correct. So this is the 4-inch shocker, and I was pretty impressed with it. I was having so much fun with it. I was like, "Whoa, I got to slow down because I'm gonna crash it and wreck it before I record." These are 2004 motors, Ciati, that's correct. I was like, I'm gonna wreck it before I go in and do the bench segment, and I don't want to do that. These are 2004 motors. This is on 4S. There is not a GoPro on board, so the performance that you're seeing here. The big question that I'm going to save for the release of the video is the 5-inch better? That's the big question. Is the 5-inch better? But when you look at this shocker 4-inch, it is heavier. This guy was around 300 grams with an 850 milliamp hour 4S and no GoPro. It was around 300 grams. So it's not under 250 grams. And the 5-inch was around 380 grams. So I think that, and with the 2004 motors, yeah, it's running a Vista. That is correct, right? 9. With the 2004 motors and the electronics they're using and so forth, it's heavier and it has way more performance, but it doesn't have the endurance of those micro long ranges. And so as I was doing the review of the micro long ranges, I said to Catalyst Machine Works, I was like, you guys, can you get under 250? And they were like, you can get it under 250. And I was like, yeah, you have a much heavier frame, you have heavier electronics, you have heavier motors. And we were like, wait a minute, this is not really an apples to apples comparison. So we're going to do a review of the shocker all by itself. And we'll see what's what. Anyway, this is some footage of the 4-inch shocker flying. I was really impressed with the 4-inch shocker. I'm not saying 4-inch is better than 5-inch. You have to wait for the video to find out about that. But I will say the performance of 4-inch quads, especially on these 2004 motors, is ridiculous. It's a shit. If 300 grams were the cutoff weight legally in a lot of places, then I think 4-inch freestyle would be getting a lot more interesting. By the time you get down to 250 grams, I think you're still 3 inches the sweet spot. I think at 250 grams for a long range cruiser, 4 inches the sweet spot, and for freestyle, 3 inches the sweet spot. But this is 4 inches really interesting. Venus wants to know why the Tango 2 costs 180 euros in Europe, but in the USA it's 160 euros. I have no idea, Venus. I mean, I'm going to assume it's because of customs and import fees. Europe is famous for imposing import taxes, and somebody has to pay those. So I'm going to guess that's why. I mean, it can't just be, maybe it has to do with exchange rates. I don't know. But, right, you have to ask TBS at the end of the day, or ask your dealer. Ask your dealer. I don't know the answer. Ryzex, Ryzex, have you been talking about my flight controller this whole time with the I2C problems? Oh crap. Well, now I really do want to pay attention. What's the issue? I got to go all the way back, Ryzex. Ryzex, can you recap the issue for me in the chat? Can you just recap it? Okay. David Lai or Lay, thank you for a $10 super chat. Has little JB started flying drones yet? What's a good age to introduce a kid to the hobby? David, I would say that there's several components of knowing when a kid should be introduced to the hobby. One is physical capability. The kid has to have the coordination to control the sticks. That is, I mean, I've seen kids as young as like 4 years old able to fly a drone. But every kid is different. They need the coordination to be able to control the drone. And then the second part is judgment. They need the maturity and the judgment to fly the drone safely. I feel like, that 4-year-old who is flying a drone, I personally wouldn't give a 5-inch quad to a 4-year-old without some heavy oversight and maybe a buddy box to disarm it, just because at that age there's just no way that they have enough judgment to be trusted with something as dangerous as like a 5-inch, even if they have the skill, the physical skill to be able to do it. I think that a good way to introduce kids to the hobby is to start them on a simulator, the same as anyone. And when they can demonstrate on the simulator that they can control the quad, that's a time to think about graduating them to a real quad, where when they crash, it might cost you some money and time repairing it. A tiny whoop, of course, or a smaller ducted quad is a great way to mitigate both of these concerns, because if they smack the tiny whoop into the dog or you or themselves, they're probably not going to go to the hospital. Every kid is different. I know some 18-year-olds I probably wouldn't want flying a 5-inch around me. So you have to just sort of make those decisions for yourself. I mean, I think certainly most kids, by the time they're around, say, 10 to 13, they probably, if they're interested, are able to fly safely. Yeah. Kev Rack, thank you for a $5 super chat. A day at the range scammed 50 people for 2 months on Bardwell's promotion. Real cool, bro. Hey, Kev, go back and rewatch that video. Did you see the part where I said, here is his Patreon, I am not endorsing this? Do you see that part? I shared that his technology appeared to exist and be real, and that he had a Patreon where he was offering to share the information. I said, I do not endorse this. If you get scammed, it's your own business. Maybe those last words didn't actually come out of my mouth. If you signed up with full knowledge of what the risks were. If you say promoted, I say mentioned that it existed. If you don't see the distinction between those things, I'm sorry, I can't help you. He sent me a video of him flying with HDMI out, apparently. The whole time I showed you the video, I was saying, we can't be sure that this isn't fake. You just can't know, but it looks real to me. That's true. And then I said, he's got a Patreon. And I said, I am not endorsing this. Sign up at your own risk. If you then signed up and you feel like you didn't get your money's worth, don't put that on me. Don't put that on me. Cancel the frickin' Patreon and ask for a refund. Do what you got to do, man, but don't put that on me. Take some responsibility for your decision. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't tell you to buy Beagle Drone either. The fact that I mentioned that something exists should not be construed as a promotion or an endorsement, especially when the whole freaking time I'm endorsing it, I'm thinking some dumbass is going to sign up for this, get scammed, and then they're going to blame me. And so I'm saying this is not an endorsement. If you sign up and get scammed, don't blame me. And now here you are blaming me. What does that make you? Moving on. Yeah, thank you, Siati. If you feel like you got scammed, ask Patreon for a refund. Get your money back. Like, hang on, back up. If a day at the range is taking your money and not delivering, I would like to know that. I will take that into consideration when I think about whether to ever mention him on my stream again. But don't come at me and be like, nice job, Bardwell. Be like, hey, man, just want to let you know I signed up for that Patreon and he hasn't freaking delivered anything. I will be so cool with you. I'll be like, thank you for telling me. But don't freaking come at me. Come at me. You'll come at me Don't come at me when I'm drinking my Milo's tea. Because my Milo's tea is my time. It's my time to really just savor all the good things that life has to offer. Come at me after I've finished my Milo's tea when I've got a full belly of contentment. Did he rip you off? I mean, I'm interested to know. What's the deal? Where is he? Hey, he's not even here. Son of a beast. I mean, I'm not a patron. I can't even find his frickin'... Where's his frickin' Patreon? What does he even offer? I don't know. Oh, there's his Patreon link. What does he even offer? Oh my god, I'm going to show it on screen again. Be careful. Watch out. I'm going to show it on screen. Don't accidentally sign up. And blame me later. Get ready. Give your credit card to your wife, just in case. Early video access, all the how-tos and downloads you need. Did he deliver that? I mean, that's what I would like to know. All hardware and firmware for HDMI out. I mean, all tiers below and extra. Oh, yeah. See, this is... It seems like for $25, he's offering hardware and firmware. I don't know. Anyway. Seems pretty vague what he's promising. Anyway. Alrighty. Moving on. He posted a giveaway. Cyclimbo says he posted a giveaway. I don't know. It's hard to know whether giveaways are legit. I really like what some of the other guys do, where they post pics of the winner with the item so that you know they're not just ripping you off. I always announce the people's names publicly, but, I mean, you could just make those names up. You just have a random name generator and say, look, the winner is Bob Smith. And then you don't have to give the prizes away. I always give the prizes away for what it's worth. Kevrak says he ghosted and is not delivering. I appreciate you telling me that, man. I don't appreciate you acting like I'm to blame for that, but I do appreciate you telling me, and I will take that into consideration and look into it. Yeah, if somebody's out there scamming, lying about giveaways, or making up some BS, then I would like to know about that. Anyway, I just feel like it's a little bit of an imposition to say, hey, take a picture of yourself so I can promote myself using your picture. That's the thing. Like, I like the giveaways are obviously self-promotion, right? I mean, I just do giveaways because, like, I really like to help the community and give something back. And that's all true. But also it's self-promotion, clearly. And it just feels a little bit of an imposition to say, hey, since you won, can I use your picture to promote myself? But also there's an aspect where people are suspicious that you don't actually do the giveaways. And so I do like that Painless 360, like, I think that's who I'm thinking of. He does pics of his winners with the prizes. But I always feel a little weird. It's like, you know, hey, can you pose for me? Anyway. I always do the giveaways, though. It's always legit. I'll look into that, Kevrak. I will look into that. I mean, you can't lie about a giveaway. And if you're on Patreon and you're making your patrons unhappy, Patreon's going to hear about it pretty quick. Avenus says, our Hall sensor gimbal is really better. I never saw a broken potentiometer gimbal. The potentiometer gimbals wear out over time. The number one way you'll know they're wearing out is that they'll stop recentering. Then if you don't fly hours and hours a day, maybe you won't ever get to that point. Potentiometer gimbals can be very good, but Hall effect gimbals, I think, are more durable under most conditions. They're going to last longer. Pretty Fly for a White Guy says, all hardware and firmware dumps means he is going to send me the Raspberry Pi and all cables along with the flash for the Pi to get it running. That's a good deal for 25 bucks. That is true, Pretty Fly for a White Guy, if he delivers. I think maybe people didn't understand that the way his Patreon is set up is he will send it to you eventually. Like he was saying, he made some comment. I'm not going to remember the exact comment, but basically he was like, yeah, we're almost there. And so he seemed to be indicating he wasn't ready to ship yet, which, like, if you join as a patron for 25 bucks, then what are you going to do? You're going to get it and then you're going to cancel your patron and you're out. So I'm not sure if he really meant that after 1 month of signing up, boom, you get your reward and then you're done. I don't know. He has a Discord. We could ask him about it. I'll jump on his Discord and I'll hit him up. Yeah, what is his... That's the thing. You got to be really clear on Patreon of what you're actually going to deliver. That's why I don't deliver anything. When you join my Patreon, you don't get anything extra. I give it all away for free. And then I just wait for the few people who really want to give back to be like, this guy I should join his Patreon. And that way, that way it's just really easy for me. I don't have to keep track of when you send me an email. Are you a patron or are you not? Sorry, I don't talk to non-patrons. I just answer them all. The one thing you get is access to the Discord server, and everyone gets access to the Discord server who's a patron. So... But he said he was doing that giveaway of DJI goggles. If he's not giving them away, then that's a big deal. Super Deluxe, thank you for a $20 super chat. Thank you for a $20 super chat. Brandon Oman, thank you for a $5 super chat. Is it a good idea to get the iFlight Titan XL 2450 kV motors and then use a throttle scale to scale them down for 5S or 6S? That's a fine idea if you want the option to sometimes use 4S, or if you want the option to sometimes crank it up a little bit and get a little extra power at the expense of flight time. 1800 kV on 6S is going to be easier on your ESC and be a little bit more efficient, but not by much. I do monthly giveaways on my Patreon, Ciati, but I don't know if you know this. If you don't know this, you should know this. In the United States, there is a law, a regulation about giveaways. And the rule is that if you get any kind of compensation for entering the giveaway, then it's like a lottery and it's heavily regulated. So the takeaway is that you are not allowed to do patrons only giveaways in the United States. This is in Patreon's terms of service, and it's federal trade, it's US law, whatever, Federal Trade Commission or whatever. So if you're doing giveaways on Patreon, technically the giveaways have to be open to non-patrons. But here's the thing. Only patrons get a notification when you post the giveaway. Everybody else. So what I do, I mean, this is compliant with the law, and I post the giveaway on Patreon, and anyone can go to Patreon and enter. But since only patrons get notifications, like, who's going to come back to your Patreon every day and be like, hey, did he post the giveaway yet? No one's going to do that. So you have to make the post not patrons only, though, Ciati. You have to, yeah, okay, yeah, there you go. Then you're compliant. You're good. Todd Tube wants to see a JBF7 all-in-one. Thank you for a $5 super chat, Todd. I don't think that's going to happen. Almost everybody has gone to 4-in-1 ESCs these days. I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, and since I'm the one who drives the project, that probably means it's not going to happen. Karma says, a day at the range is clear that 1 month at $25 gets you a custom PCB. He's been silent for a week on his Discord, which has people worried, but it seems like a lot of work to scam few people out of a few dollars. I mean, who knows, man? If he's doing a scam, he's doing a really long game. There's a whole lot of work for this weird scam. Like, the thing I've always said is that if he was going to lie, he could make a much more compelling lie than, like, I've got this Raspberry Pi hack. He could just say, I got a firmware, you flash it to your DJI goggle. Listen. You download my app, you plug your DJI goggles into USB, you flash the goggles with this firmware, and boom! 150 megabits per second and HDMI out. Yep, $100. He could just scam people with that lie. Why would he make up this weird lie about Raspberry Pi and stuff? Like, it's not as compelling a lie as if... So it just doesn't seem like a good scam if it's a scam. Does that mean that he's not just, you know, incompetent and busy? And I mean, from your perspective, you're still out your money. I don't think he's scamming. He could just be letting it all fall apart, though. MBPFPV, thanks for a $5 super chat. Right now I'm using the Attitude V2s. Wow. Attitude V2, wow. I think Attitude V3 was my first goggle. Attitude V2 is okay. Good for you, man. With a rapid fire module, would you recommend upgrading to? Yes, I would recommend upgrading to anything. Any modern goggle is going to look so much better than those Attitude V2s. You're going to be blown away. Or should you make the switch to DJI? I mean, MVP, if you can afford to switch to DJI, it will probably make you happy. Aber the Ham wants to know the difference between a raffle and a lottery. Like the legal difference? I don't know. What's the legal difference? Maybe there isn't a difference. A raffle always has a winner, whereas a lottery may not have a winner. So in a raffle, you sell tickets, and one of the tickets will be a winner. With a lottery, you draw numbers out of a hat, or you pick a random number, and if nobody picked the random number, nobody wins. That's the answer. Good job. I mean, the fact that he's not answering messages for a week, I mean, I understand why people would be freaked out about that. I mean, maybe he just got busy for a week and had other stuff to work on. Who knows? Also, a lot of times people intend to do good stuff and then they get overwhelmed and they flake. And it sucks if you're out money. But hopefully Patreon will give you your money back. I don't know. I'm not really sure what the deal is there. I would certainly pause my freaking Patreon if you're concerned about him not delivering. Maybe he died, Cyclimbo says. I mean, we can't rule that out, but also that's pretty dark. Maybe DJI took care of him, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Oh, Triad style, Ghost Branch says. Yeah. Or DJI bought him out again. I don't know, man. Yeah. I mean, if you have Patreon supporters, you owe them an update. That's a fact. I agree. At least just to say, hey, he has 54 freaking patrons though, so there you go. John Solo says there was a November giveaway, one a month. Do we know that? Anyway. Does anybody know for Duncan Peters 1980, does anybody know the connector used on the RunCam cable that connects the RunCam Split 2 camera to the main board? Duncan Peters, you might try reaching out to RunCam. I'm sure they will know the answer. I don't know that off the top of my head. John Solo says he did post a giveaway video for the DJI goggles. He said his lawyer told him everything was fine. He said he checked with the lawyer before releasing the second one, and everything was fine. Rainer, very glad you're here for the live stream. Ryzik says, the issue I'm having with your JBF7 is that it is pausing between initialization, doot, and then doot, a few seconds later. Ryzik, that is probably the gyro taking a minute to calibrate. If you don't care, then just don't worry about it. You can raise the gyro calibration threshold so it calibrates a little faster. That's a CLI option. And you could also potentially have a bad gyro, in which case setting the gyro to use in the configuration tab to first or second instead of both would be the fix. Those are some things to try. BeepTube says he seems to be violating the spirit of the agreement. BeepTube, man, in contract law, there is no spirit of the agreement. There is only what is in the contract. If DJI signed a contract with him that said you will not release this specific hack, and he was like, fine, and then he releases another hack, that's on DJI for not putting it in the contract. Yeah. I mean, not to say that those kind of things don't have consequences. If you screw somebody over with the letter of the law versus the spirit, then later you try to do business with them, they may be like, F you, you're not the kind of person I want to do business with. But as far as, lawsuits go, whatever the contract says is what it says. And if you can sneak something through, more power to you. That's why people have lawyers. I mean, that's not going to stop someone from suing you if they feel like they can make a case. So just, anyway. 2:55, 2:56 p.m. We got 4 minutes left on the live stream. Thank you guys for coming out and enjoying the live stream while I've been enjoying this Milo's tea. Thank you, Milo's, for sponsor. See how good the ad read would be? Milo's, sponsor my live stream. Nobody wants to sponsor my live streams except my beautiful patrons. Thank you, patrons, for sponsoring. Thanks to everybody who left a super chat, and thanks to everybody who just came and hang out. It's good to be here with you guys. Siadi is in the chat as well, and he is going to be streaming. He's going to be streaming at 3 p.m. on his channel. Siadi, you can start posting that link, baby. I will be streaming again tomorrow, Monday night at 1 p.m. 8 p.m. Sorry, 8 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday. We'll be doing the FPV news with Blunty. If you ever want to know what my schedule is, go check out my website, fpvknowitall.com. There is an editorial calendar there at the top of the page. This calendar, the live stream is locked in. Okay, so when you look at this and you see that I've got a live stream scheduled for Monday night, I will keep that up to date, probably. The video releases are a little more fluid. Like a lot of times the day of the video, it's not ready, and I have to shuffle things around. So this is like, don't count on the fact that if you show up on Tuesday, I'll have such and such a video. But the live stream schedule is pretty locked in. The other thing you can do, if you're curious, is you can go to YouTube, and you can, oh no, hang on, my channel. You can go to YouTube, and they've added, hello, can we go to my channel? There we go. They've added a list of upcoming live streams, which I'm keeping updated. And that for sure is going to be right, unless I cancel something at the last minute. So the time zone is GMT -5 currently. You can always just go to the live stream and you can see when it's going to be in your local time just by clicking on it. It'll show see live in 29 hours, December 7th, 8 p.m. That's going to be in your local time. So anyway, Siadi is going to also be streaming. Yeah, I know you don't want to see mid-rolls. That's why I don't use them. I don't use mid-roll ads. I don't do placed ad reads. They're super annoying. But we all like money. What'd y'all think of that Raid Shadow Legends? Drew did a Raid Shadow Legends ad read. And I was like, I mean, hey, you know, you got to pay the bills, dude. Super Deluxe, I don't want to take any sponsorships from FPV related products. I try and keep that separate. So I wouldn't do an, that's why I'm joking about getting a sponsorship from Milo's Tea or Mio Squirts. You know, because if Mio Squirts sponsors my live stream, there's no conflict of interest there. But I don't take a sponsorship from anybody in FPV. His ad read was fine. It was, I mean, it was a fine ad read. It was a typical ad read, but I mean, I get it. You're like, what are you doing? I asked him how much he made. I was like, how much did they pay you for that ad read? I'm not going to tell you guys what the number was, but he told me the number and I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah. I'm not. He didn't. If I don't know if he shared the numbers, I'm definitely not going to share it. You know, there's an interesting perspective that I'm not going to share with you because it's 3 p.m. and it's time for me to get off the air and let's Siati do it. See you guys later. Have a good stream, Siati. Happy flying, everybody.